Hi, my name is Pam Wicking. I'm the Childcare Resource and Referral Director, and Jeff was the perfect speaker for this presentation. We always look for something that's uplifting, light, motivational, fun, but we were really wowed by all of that, but also the fact that he wove just wonderful positive messages into his presentation. It was very educational and very inspiring for the teachers and really had a nice focus on respect for children. So his presentation really reinforced the messages that we like to send to providers as well. So he's great. I think you would really enjoy having him come and work with your staff or childcare providers.
Thank you, Amy. Draw the chairs. Let's be the classroom. Turn this way, please. Wow. Good morning, good morning, good morning, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters of the classroom. What an honor to be here. Amy says, Jeff Akins, but some of you know me. Some of you have seen the show before, heard keynotes before. I recognize you. Wow. But the kids, most people just call me Bubble Man, Mr. Rubbles. One kid called me Bubble Wan Kenobi. Oh, I've heard them all. Bubble Boy, Boy in the Bubble, if you remember the old John Travolta movie. Bubble Buddy is the new SpongeBob reference. My own kids, I have 2 kids now at home. They call me the Double Bubble Daddy. But my absolute favorite name was given to me by 3 children down in Texas. I live right here in Illinois, up in Woodstock. That's where they filmed Groundhog's Day. That's our big claim to fame in Woodstock. But I was on tour doing these school assemblies, and 3 boys came up to my very first presentation. Afterward, they came up and they said, Bubble Man, we have a new name for you. And I said, what's my new name? And they said, we're going to call you the Bubble Master. It doesn't get any better than that. I mean, that's not a name you can call yourself. That's a name you are given, right? I call what I do Bubble Wonders. Bubble Wonders, amazing things that we can do with ordinary bubbles. And I always start the presentation the same way. I say, raise your hands if you've ever played with bubbles. Might have been a while. Not with you guys, right? It's in the classroom, probably, right? I love that. Great uniter. Bubbles are everywhere. I remember the first time I ever saw bubbles. I was just a little kid myself. I was probably about that big. It was my mom. She gave me my first bubbles. She said, Jeff, here, these are for you. And I was all like, oh, thanks, Mom, look at that. Whoa. I didn't know what it was. I had never seen a bubble. Never saw a bubble before, but I was curious. I'm always curious. I opened it up. I looked inside. I sniffed it. And then I tried to drink it. I'm with kindred spirits. I love this. She said, no, you don't drink the bubbles. Instead, she changed my life forever. She handed me this. Yeah, she called it the bubble wand. She said, here, use the bubble wand. And you never know when a moment might change your life forever. Right? I remember that moment. It was like, oh. You know the feeling, right? Something special is about to happen. You're just not sure what it is yet. I didn't know what to do with that. I had never seen it before. Intuitively, I like to think, dipped it in the bottle. And I said, watch, Mom, here I go. No. She said, don't eat it. She said, you have to blow through the wand. Try blowing through it. I said, blow through it, okay. And she said, no, you have to use the other end. Try the other end. I said, oh, the other. I had no idea what the woman was talking about. But I didn't give up. I kept trying. And I eventually made my first bubble. It looked something like this. I was so excited. Imagine your very first bubble. I'm going to keep it forever. Uh-oh. I didn't know the bubble would pop. Since then, I've learned that there are 3 things that will burst our bubbles. The wind, the first one I learned, dry things, and the deadliest enemy of a bubble, children. Exactly. Exactly, but that makes them very powerful tools. I'm just curious, raise your hand. I'm going to back up just a little bit. Raise your hand if you are currently training to work with children. I saw some of that happening during the thing. Good. Raise your hand if you are right now working with children. Good. Raise your hand if you yourself have children. Okay. And raise your hand if you were or are a child. Of course, that's why we're here. Wonderful, wonderful. Well, I hope you keep that spirit. Because what I'm going to do for the rest of the presentation is I'm going to do portions of my Bubble Wonder show just like I would normally do it. But then I'm going to stop because I want to explain why I do the things that I do and how you can use some of those things right in the classroom. Okay? It might be best, let me demonstrate this. If you've not seen these are wonderful, wonderful bubble wands. What you do is you unscrew it, and you can do it one of two ways. One, you can lift it out just part way and blow through it a little loop. Then you could do like that little experiment. Right? Or, and this is more for outdoor use, children, let it drip all the way off, and then you can actually wave that around. Like that. Okay? Yeah, so you now have the tools to do this first experiment, this little splitting the bubble thing. I'll explain it more depth. Okay, good. Now, children, put your wands away. There was a big discussion. Should we put them on the table? Should we give them out at the end? Let me give you a few more hints about the thing. Here's how you do that little split the bubble thing. Pretend for a moment that your head is a bubble. And fan yourself like you're hot. Just don't hit your face, it'll pop. I mean, your face won't pop. Pop my face. Talking about the bubble again. Do you feel the wind on your cheek? That's all I'm doing to the bubble. I'm just fanning the bubble really hard. Now, it takes a little more force than you imagine. If you really want to do it, you could even take like a paper plate and fan it. It'll displace even more air. But fan a bubble. The kids will be fascinated. Okay? So if you'll close those again, we can continue. So I have your undivided attention. So yeah, you can split the bubble. Now, if you want to take it even a step further, after you've split the bubble, right? So I split the bubble. You can go like this. Focus on one bubble. Tell the kids, watch this bubble. Watch. Oh. Mm. Now, of course, did I really eat a bubble? No, I'm popping that behind my hand. I explain it. I have to explain it, especially for the little ones that you guys work with. Because they're all like, teach me here, bubble. Like, no, I'm just pretending. Just pretend. Raise your hand if you like to pretend. You're the kids now. Raise your hand if you like to pretend. Raise your hand if you like to play. Raise your hand if you have a good imagination. Raise your hand if you're creative or you're artistic in some way. And we all are. And then carefully, hands and feet back down again. Seat belts on. Harness down. Please keep your hands inside the rides at all times. Isn't that beautiful? Isn't that beautiful? I love that. Brings the kids right back in. One of the things that I love the most is getting feedback from the teachers, principals, the schools that I work with, and that's one of the number one things that they talk about is you had such control in a gentle demeanor, and you had everybody right there, right? How many of you ever had a program where they jazzed the kids all up and then they left them like that for you? Thanks a lot. Yeah, so it's all about breathing in, out. Bring them up, bring them down, right? So that's a lovely way. Bring them all back to them. And I know a lot of you do that thing and put the bubble in your mouth when you're walking from room to room. Quiet. So they already know a little bit about the bubbles. We can play with that. But then, of course, for the older kids, so it's not a bubble in there. What is this right here? My tongue. Try that. Stick your tongue in your cheek, which is the theme of this whole presentation, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, just push it back and forth, pretend, but don't put bubbles in your mouth, okay? There's soap in there. Soap's a great thing. We wash with it. We stay clean and healthy and strong. Just don't put bubbles in your mouth. You have to drill at home. Don't put bubbles in your mouth. Because now they have edible bubbles. Thanks a lot. And let me show you this wand. This is my absolute favorite bubble wand. This has actually traveled around the world with me. I have now had the honor of performing so far in 10 different countries and all across the United States, coast to coast. I just got back from New Jersey earlier this week. I bring this to every performance. I call it the Swiss Army bubble blower. Not one, but 6 different bubble wands. I won this on eBay, true story. I was confused when I first opened it up. I came to this shape. I know it's really small, but can everybody see what shape this is? A square-shaped one, exactly. I saw that and I thought, oh, what a great idea. It became my dream. You know what I mean? My dream. I told everybody my dream. I said, I'm going to do it. I'm going to make a square bubble. And people said, what? You ever have that happen? You share a dream and someone shoots it down? That can hurt. It hurts the kids too. I want to be that one person in life that tells them, yeah, you can do that. Because we might be the only person that says that to them. So I tell them, I believe I can do it because I believe anything is possible. We heard a little bit of the song right before the awards. Anything is possible. Anybody else believe that's true? Just kind of a wonderful. I will attempt to make a square bubble for you right now. If you guys will help me by doing a drum roll, you build up some suspense. There we go. So I take the square wand, I dip it inside the bubbles, and blow. And there we have. You laughed just like the kids would have. No, that was not a square bubble. That was a wet nose. But here's the truth, as I tell the kids. Just because something is possible doesn't mean it's always going to be easy. But do we give up? Now you're silent. You might be saying it inside, but they scream it out. They live that answer. No, don't give up. Have to keep trying. We call that persistence. Play along if you want. I tell the kids, persistence. Can you guys say persistence? Try it with your hands on your hips like the superhero you are. Persistence. Anybody else see the TED Talk about the power pose? Yeah? So I've been doing this for 12 years, just intuitively. And then somebody came up to me, I believe it was a teacher. She said, you have to Google TED Talk, power pose. I said, what? She goes, you're teaching them something that's been scientifically proven to boost their self-confidence. There's something about this talk, something about holding this pose and something that it does to generate a little confidence. And it's not just the kids. We can do this too. Her example in the TED Talk is you could be in the stall before you go into a meeting, or in your office, wherever you are. Just, in other words, you don't want to be like walking around, right? You do this to calm and center yourself, right? It works. It works, and we can give that to our kids. I think Linda Carter invented it. Wonder Woman. Yeah, persistence. It's just a fancy way of saying we will keep trying. And we will. We'll keep trying. We figure out a way to make a square bubble. In the meantime, I'll show you some other stuff. I was asking about imagination before. If we use our imagination, we can take a straw and turn it into anything. We could turn it into a... You're the kids now. A flute, right? We could turn it into a... or... How do we do this? A telescope, spyglass. One little boy at a show once yelled out, "It's the guy who caught the arrow." That's imagination. I laughed, and I kept it in my show. You can take ordinary straws and use these as impromptu bubble wands. One of my nightmares as a performer is being unprepared or forgetting something. I was once doing a daycare center. It was in Round Lake, and I had just come from another daycare center somewhere else, Morton Grove, I believe. And I had forgotten significant parts of my show at the first show. I literally, the bubble man, had to borrow a bubble wand from the center. And they had lots of them. But you could even use a straw. You just dip it in the bubbles, let it drip, especially if you're teaching this to the kids, otherwise you get bubble solution all over the place. And then one thing you do want to remember is whatever you do not suck in. I've seen him try it. Let it drip. And then simply blow gently through the straw. I don't even touch the straw. You want to keep it tilted down. Gravity's your friend this way. Gravity will give you a mouthful of soap if you tilt it the other way. And just gently blow. I'm not even touching it to my mouth so the kids won't get bubbles in their mouths. Isn't that lovely? I like to try to catch it and whoa. I'm going to set it back on my bottle. If you haven't caught on by now, I love inspirational quotes. It keeps me on track, and I love to share them. One I love is, the best way to predict your future is to create it. Right? Yeah. Sometimes that's all we have to do is ask. It's a whole, knock and the doors will open the thing. How many of you ever needed help? But we're great helpers, aren't we? We heard it this morning. Right? Do not lift a hand today. This is for you guys today. We're great at helping. We are the masters of helping. But sometimes we need to simply ask. Look around you. There are so many resources, so much wisdom in this room. Reach out. See, I'm going to move on. I'm going to use a little bit bigger bubble wand now. I used to do this. Sometimes, depending on the age, you can have the kids vote. Should I use this one? You're the kids now. Should I use this one? Yeah. Okay, now you're adults. You're responding as adults, which is fine. But here's the thing. The kids, they can really get wound up. So another way to do it is, and you may have seen me do this, whisper voting. Whisper yes or whisper no. Which one should I use? Should I use this one? And of course, there's those kids who never heard your instructions the first time, right? The room is, yes. And then you hear this one, yes! Everybody looks at him. We all have them, right? He just didn't hear it. She just didn't hear it. So it's all about repetition. You know this, right? So I say it again. No, I'm sorry. Drop it down. Stop it. No. I put the wands away. Because as soon as they see it, they just start yelling yes or no, right? This is all from trial and error. Put them behind my back. Let's whisper again. Whisper either answer. Whisper yes or whisper no. Let's try it again. Let's practice. Ready? Should I use this one? Should I use this one? Yes. Yeah, it might take a time or two, depending on your students, right? But I'm patient. I'm patient. I'd rather get where we need to be, which is on the same page, and they're going to do what you want them to do. In this case, you don't want them yelling. Because if I don't have them at the beginning in this gentle, safe environment, they're going to walk and talk all over other significant parts of the show, right? So I want to try to have that gentle sense of community and control right from the get-go. So that's a nice way to do it. Whisper voting. Let's do a little bit bigger one. Now, sometimes I joke. Right? I say, okay, you voted for it. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Now, you can't see this. Most of you, it's down on the table. I'm futzing around like I'm putting the wand inside the bottle. The kids are laughing, of course. You're so helpful and respectful. You guys are just watching. But they're like laughing at me. Ah, it's not going to fit in there. And I say, oh, should I give up? No, don't give up. Right, exactly. Persistence. Some are actually saying persistence. They've already remembered and repeating it back. Oh, it's not going to fit in there. Sometimes we have to think outside the bottle. Bubbles come in bottles. They don't have to stay in bottles. If the wand won't fit, we can pour the bubbles into a bigger container. I poured some into a little tray before the show. I'm going to use this wand to I'm going to connect a couple bubbles for us. Let's try this. Isn't that beautiful? I call that the double bubble or the figure 8. Some of the real little ones call it the bubble booty. Shake your booty. Shake your booty. Shake your... One girl said, no, that's called a chain of bubbles. Very matter of fact. And I'm sure you've had them, boy or girl, right? And I love those kids. They're my soulmates. The soulmates are the ones that do not agree and love you and do everything exactly like you do. It's those ones who challenge you. I hear the giggles, right? They're the ones that help you grow. Those are the ones who are going to make us better educators. Those are our soulmates. That's not a bubble booty. She said, that's called a chain of bubbles. She read about it in Guinness Book of World Records. This is a little girl. So then I reinforce reading too. Raise your hand if you ever read the Guinness Book. There's always some kids, right? Right? Reinforce that. Oh, that's wonderful. Raise your hand if you read anything. I love my readers. Reinforcing readers, right? Anyway, the little girl, she laughed at me because I only had 2. And then I was curious. I said, well, how many is in the book? What did they do? What was the record? And she said, 9. A man in this Guinness book had connected 9 bubbles together to make the Guinness World Record for the longest chain of bubbles. I don't remember what it was. Should we try it? Yes. Okay, there we go. There we go. Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. She called it a chain. I called it a caterpillar. 6, 7, 8, 9. Stop wiggling. 10. There we go. Isn't that beautiful? A 10 bubble caterpillar. Now I'm quite aware that the bubbles have all clumped up together. It's called peripheral vision. The first time that happened, it was a mistake. What I've learned is there are no accidents, only opportunities. Let me say this again. There are no accidents, only opportunities. The kids, oops, they just absolutely died laughing when I failed. They were laughing so hard, I didn't know what to do. I started laughing too. I said, and now the butterfly is in her chrysalis. No, actually what I said is, now the butterfly is in its cocoon. And a little boy sitting in the front row said, no, it's called a chrysalis. Now I didn't stop the show, but I heard him, because there was that moment of silence. The room was silent between me saying cocoon and him stepping in and saying chrysalis. So it was like, I heard it so distinctly. And somebody recently pointed out to me, the same letters in silent are in the word listen, if you rearrange them. Oh, interesting. So, I heard him, and I took it in, and afterward, when I got home, I looked it up. He was right. Moths will have a cocoon, but butterflies emerge out of a chrysalis. So I had to change my show. But I learned, and he taught me. So a big part of what I learned in the classroom, and then subsequently brought out into the rest of my life, was we have to listen. Because we're going to get information. And I believe, for me, it's true. Some of the most important life lessons I have ever learned came from children. And maybe it's because I am more in tune to children. Can you tell I'm really in touch with my inner child? No. I've learned so much from children. And so when those little moments come, I try to stay open. I just feel so honored to have received so much guidance and wisdom from these young souls. So I looked it up. He was right. Chrysalis. I changed the show, but I kept that part too. Next time it messed up, I knew what to say because the kids were going to laugh at that failure. Right? I don't mind letting the kids see me fail. Now I've actually worked a couple failures right into the performance. Because then I laugh about it. I don't get upset. I laugh about it, and I figure out a way to deal with it, and we go on. I think it's invaluable to fail in front of our children, but to do so with grace and persistence and humor. Because how do they learn? They don't learn a thing from what we say. So I don't know exactly what's going to happen now, but I'm going to make 2 bubbles. That's better. Now, experience has shown me there are several things that can happen at this point. Right now, they're sort of balancing. That's one of them. One bubble or the other bubble can pop. There. Was that worth the wait? Most things are. The 2 bubbles merged together and made one bigger bubble. We call that the love bubble. When 2 become 1. Now, I know she was saying, you guys don't lift a hand, you don't have to do anything today, but I am going to ask for a volunteer. Is there someone? Yes, right here. Come on up. Please give her a big round of applause. Here's something else that you might find of use somewhere, wherever you are working with kids. I call it my helper spot. This is just a piece of carpeting. I have drop cloths to make sure that I don't leave bubble solution on anybody's floor. When they get old, a little more worn out, I cut them into little circles like this. It's the helper spot. When I ring up a volunteer, you might be having somebody that you want to do whatever it is. I say, here's my helper spot. If you'll stand on the helper spot, you'll be in the perfect spot. Now I'm guaranteed to have my assistant right where I need them. It worked wonders, because before that, it was like, no, come over here. No, I'm in cheer. Would you, no, you can come over here. They want to come over by the table. They want to see all the things. Now they know where they're going to be. The helper spot. Now, I asked my volunteers what their name is. What is your name?
Jen.
Jen, nice to meet you, Jen. Thank you for being my helper. If it was a child, I would ask them how old they are. I will not do that for Jen. I've learned the hard way. Do not ask adult women. But that's just because I'm in that mode, right? This is what I would do. Something else I find very valuable are names. My name is Jeff. I don't know if it was written out anywhere in the program or anything that you may have seen about this, but if you noticed, it was spelled Geoff. Not everybody's seen that spelling before. Hardly any kids have ever seen that. So growing up, my name was always mangled. Geoff, Godfrey, Goof. That last one might have been a little true. So I've been really hyper aware about names. One, I also have a hearing loss, so I'm going to be looking right at the child, make sure that I can hear exactly what their name is. Some of them are very exotic. Some of them I might even know the name, the meaning of their name. I don't know exactly what Jen means, but I always ask. Like Amanda, it means fit to be loved. Jeffrey means heavenly peace. Yeah? So if I know, like Sophia, I get a Sophia up once in a while. Oh, Sophia, I know what your name means. It means wisdom. And I ask people, find out what your name means. There's a reason why we were named what we're named. Find out why. Some story behind them. And then if age, for instance, my favorite thing lately has been when it's a child who has just turned 10, or they're 9, about to be 10. I said, oh, this is an important time in Jennifer's life. On her next birthday, she will leave single-digit birthdays forever as she enters double-digit birthdays. May you live to see triple-digit birthdays. Now, Jen, I've asked you to come up here because I'm going to let you hold something sharp. We're going to do a bubble experiment. I was performing at a birthday party. This was over a decade ago. Now, I do not do a lot of birthday parties too much anymore. My focus is mostly this. This feeds me on such a deep level because you guys know exactly what I'm talking about. You're in the trenches, so to speak. Right? But what I tell the kids is, but I am curious, yet I'm really genuinely curious. Raise your hand if you have a birthday in the next 12 months. Okay, good. Now, Jen, what I'm going to have you do is hold this sharp pencil. The girl at the birthday party all those years ago, she stopped the show. She's like, Bubble Man, you forgot one more thing that pops bubble. I said, what else pops a bubble? She said, sharp things. You didn't say sharp things. I really didn't. It sounded right, but I did not know for sure. And I'm not going to tell them it's true unless I know it's true. So I have Jennifer hold a sharp pencil just like that. What I'm going to do is make another bubble. And then slowly, gently, Jen, would you put that sharp pencil right inside the bubble and show everybody, this will not pop. The kids are rolling on the floor. As you would well imagine, I have failed. Right? Now, of course, I tell them, oh, I knew the pencil was going to pop the bubble. You knew it. Jen knew it. Right? Honor the child that's there in front of you, your helper. Jen knew it. We all knew it. So we're going to change the experiment now. But this time I need you guys to do me a big favor. This next technique is another one that a variety of responses that I've received from educators say, that is brilliant. How many of you ever asked a question in class that you wanted them to raise their hand and answer, and you could call on them so you had control over who was going to answer the question, and the kid just yelled out the answer, spoiling it for everybody else? That happened a lot in my show. The kids taught me. Every one of those little smart and fast-thinking children were my soulmates. They made me change my show. So what I came up with, so in a moment, we're going to change the experiment, but I need you to do me a big favor now. Go like this, go like this. Zip it, lock it, put it in your pocket. Don't say a word. Shh, don't say a word. I'll explain more in just a moment. This time, Miss Jen, what I'd like you to do is put the pencil inside the bottle. Just drop it in there for a second. Now the whole pencil won't fit inside the bottle. It's a little bit longer, but the pointed end is now covered with the bubbles. I'll have you hold that end again. Now, if you do know what's going to happen, because some of them do, here's the second part of this equation. I love the fact that that child who yelled out the answer knew the answer, and knew the answer so quickly. And that's why he or she told me and shouted it right out. They're proud that they figured it out. So I didn't want to diss that. That's amazing. I just wanted to harness it, to channel it, so that it didn't break the spell for those who hadn't got there yet. So what I came up with is, if you do know what's going to happen, don't say the answer out loud. Because when we tell people the answer, they get it up here, but we don't give them a chance to have that aha moment when we figure it out for ourselves. And that's one of the most powerful feelings there are. And I wanted the other children to have that experience. So, if you think you know what's going to happen, don't shout the answer out, but give me the secret signal. Kids love secrets, right? Give me the secret signal, like this. You could hear a pin drop. You still get the occasional kid who didn't hear the directions. Or just so thrilled that they figured it out, right? And you roll with it. But for the most part, the majority of people will keep it in. Sometimes I talk about will. With older kids, we can talk about will. How do we channel what we want to do in such a way that's productive? Persistence. Use our will. Hold it in. Don't tell you. And for the older kids, it's, can you tell somebody the answer when you're taking a test? Related to something they know. Like, no, you can't. Okay, pretend we're taking a test for the rest of this experiment. I'm going to make another bubble now. Let's see if you're right. Slowly, gently put that sharp pencil right inside. You did it? She did it, Jen. Put a sharp pencil inside a bubble. Teaching us. There's always a lesson, right? Sharp things do pop bubbles, but not because they're sharp. It popped that first bubble because a pencil was... Give them the release. They've been holding it in. Let them give you the answer. Isn't that wonderful? I was just so... It answered every need that I had in that moment, right? Let the kids, let the majority of the kids not yell the answer out, so everyone has the chance to come up with the answer. Acknowledge the kids that do have the answer already, and thank them for not yelling the answer out. And then when it's appropriate, when it's the time, let them answer the question. Much more powerful. Now, would you erase the bubble for me, Jen? You can just use the eraser end. There you go. Very nice. Now, don't go away, Jen. I have a little towel. You can use that to dry your hands off. Sometimes science gets messy, but it's just soap and water. I call it good, clean fun. And then, Miss Jen, I have something special for you. First of all, I want to give you this. This is what I'm using today. There's 2 bubble solutions. I'll talk about them later. The one that I'm using mostly today is a brand called Uncle Bubble. I'll talk about this a little bit later. This is a bottle of concentrate. You will mix this to make a much more bubble solution. I'm going to give that to you for being my brave volunteer. And also this. This is a CD called Rise by Canadian singer-songwriter Jen Hanna. It's all about courage and bravery. It was invaluable to me, and I want to give that to you for being so brave and modeling for us. It's never too late to have a happy childhood. Okay? And then please take a bow. Big round of applause for Miss Jen. Lovely. Okay, so let's move on. I'm doing the whole voting thing. Should I use this one? Should I use this one? Right, they've seen that once. Okay, here we go. And it was like this. Isn't that lovely? Now, Miss Jen just showed us a wonderful experiment. She was successful at putting a pencil inside a bubble, accenting a positive, reinforcing something that a child has done in front of the class, right? We always catch them doing the bad stuff. I like catching them doing the good stuff too, in front of the other children. That's invaluable. Now, if you wet a straw, it too will go inside the bubble, just like the wet pencil. But the straw is even more interesting. Once it's inside there, you can blow a bubble inside a bubble. Isn't that lovely? There's something really beautiful about that hushed. Usually kids are like, what? No, what? I'll try another one here. Oh, it popped right out. Did you see that? Oh, no! We try that again. So all I'm doing, just like the experiment that Jen did, just wetting a straw. You guys can do this. Experiment this. Wet straw. It will go inside a bubble, and then just blow real gentle. Big bubbles, little bubbles. Now sometimes, if we're really lucky, whoa, did you see that? It popped right out, and now I have a bubble with a belly button. There are no accidents, right? Because that happens. It's just a natural occurring phenomenon working with bubbles, and so like, well, it happens every time. The kids get a laugh out of it when it happens. How could I reinforce the laugh? So there we go. Now there's actually 3 ways to put a bubble inside a bubble. I'll demonstrate 2 more as we go along, but now it's time to vote for another bubble wand. Should I use this one or this one? The kids are like, yeah, bigger. Now, I might be dating myself, but some of you look like you would be in my generation. Who remembers this? I see Tammy, I see Jen, I see Bobby, and Susie. Romper Room. Raise your hand. I'll tell you, raise your hand if you do not know what Romper Room is. Yeah, you guys can fill them in, but here's the gist of it, ladies and gentlemen. If you've never seen Romper Room, think about somebody doing your job on television. That's basically what it was. It was teaching kids, doing games and songs and dancing and moral development, do be and don't be, and all those things. Right? But I don't know how to, I go both ways. Sometimes I think, wow, that is really magical. And sometimes I think, ooh, that is just so creepy. But at the end of the program, she had this magic mirror frame. Now here's the thing, I did not know. There were actually different versions of that show all over the country. There was different hosts depending on where you lived. They bought like the rights to do like a franchise agreement. But all of them had something they called a magic mirror frame. And at first, she would lift it up, and it was a mirror, an actual mirror with usually some kind of psychedelic looking back on it. And she would do this whole romper, stomper, bumper, do, tell me. Anyway, they would do this weird TV trick where the screen around the mirror would start going, and then when it came back to her, the mirror was gone. She's looking through the frame into the camera going, oh, I see Jen, I see Jeff, I see Terry, I see Bobby, right? It used to scare me a little. How can she see me through the TV? And then the other part of me is going, say my name, 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 say my name. But she would only do a handful, then it's like, see you tomorrow. Did she ever say your name? Who said no? There's always somebody who's like, no. All the way in the back of the room, what is your name? You have to yell it out. Stella? Stella! Stella. Would you raise your hand again? This is Stella, everybody. She knows exactly what I'm... Wait, I need you to raise your hand. Thank you. In a moment, actually, Stella, I like to kind of pull people a little bit out of their comfort zone. Would you stand up just for a moment? And on a count of 3, would everyone please turn and say, I see Stella. Ready? Take this in. 1, 2, 3. I see Stella. Thank you, Stella. Stella, there's a little closure on your childhood. Stella, she never said my name either, which I think it partially explains why I do this for a living. Now, I'm joking, but I'm also serious. There is this innate human need to be seen. I know some of you are parents, you're all educators. How many of you have ever heard some version of, teacher, teacher, look at me. Mama, papa, daddy, mom, look what I can do. That doesn't go away. I used to use it as a joke. I actually had a beautiful grandmother come up to me after a presentation down in southern Illinois. And she was laughing about that little bit about Romper Room. Tears running down her eyes, saying, you know, when that lady, the hostess, when she retired, she ended up moving next door to my sister. I actually have had tea with her. And she told these wonderful stories, like they gave her the magic mirror frame when she retired. And she kept it with her wherever she went. Because, you know, she'd be shopping, for instance, and people would recognize her. Oh, you're the lady. You know what? You never ever. She'd go, what's your name? I don't know if you are on social media at all, but I made some reference to that because of a presentation. And somebody sent me a link to just a picture of one of the hostesses holding up the frame saying, oh, I just know what she's going to say my name today. And the comments were of 2 camps. One was, oh, she said my name. And the other ones were, she never said my name. And there was a lot of bitterness there. But that, to this day, that was still a thing, right? She never said my name. How could she? But in her defense, one of the hostess actually answered in the comments. I'm like, whoa, one of the actual hosts. And she said, but if you will please, please, please remember, at the end of that segment, when I end saying, I see Tammy and Jimmy and Bobby, and I see all of you, that was to cover my butt. So, I'm seriously considering making an app. The app would be her. You press the little button, you say your name, Jeff. And I see Jeff. But this is such a powerful, powerful thing. Not only for us, but how we bring that back into the classroom. Remembering that need is so strong. I haven't said too much about my teaching experiences. I'd like to share a story with you because it's personally relevant. I had been hired to work as a substitute teacher for a woman who was on maternity leave. And she was a special ed teacher in an elementary classroom. But one of my joys was the one-on-one experiences that I had with children, working on whatever IEP things that they might be doing. And one experience that changed my life forever, and I talk about those moments. You never know when a moment might change your life forever. I was asked to work with Keely. Now, it's not a real name, but Keely was this amazing child who had just gone through the DARE program. Now, what you need to know about Keely is that she was born with fetal alcohol spectrum disorder. Okay, we'll just say that, fetal alcohol spectrum disorder, who had written and won a prize at this DARE program and was being asked to give the speech to all the graduates that year. And my job was to look over her speech and help her practice it. Just the two of us sitting across the table from each other, and she's reading her thing, and she's probably like most of us. We don't necessarily want to be talking in front of people, so it's head down. My name is Keely. I'm like, oh, that's good. I like what you wrote here. But take a breath. Slow down. And then stop after your name. And because you know your name, you don't have to read it. You can look up at the audience. People want to see you. Right? So take a little breath. When you say your name, lift your head high and tell everybody your name. So we practiced doing that a couple of times, and she was practicing doing it for me. At one point, she stops, she puts down her paper, and she says, do you know, other than my mom, you are the first person who has ever looked me in the eyes. I can't even imagine. I never worked so hard with a student in my life. And proud and grateful to be that person for Keely. Like I said, that need doesn't go away. And imagine for whatever exterior reason might be preventing people from looking you in the eye. As the person in the room, you have the opportunity. You have the responsibility to look these children in the eye. It's not like you have to answer or fix anything or come to the rescue or know all the answers or solve their problems, make their life better. Just look at me. Sometimes that's all they need. Sometimes that's all we need. Right? It doesn't cost a cent. It takes a little time. But the rewards, because believe me, I felt like $1 million when she told me that. I mean, there was that first initial wave of, oh my God. But then yeah. And Mitch Albom, do you know who this is? Author, Tuesdays with Maury and stuff like that. He tells a wonderful story in a book called Have a Little Faith, I believe is what it is. He told the story about the little girl comes running home from school waving this beautiful drawing she did, waving at her mom. Mom, look. And her mom is fixing dinner at the stove. Yes, I'm here. She's like, no, Mom, look what I have. Her mom's like, yeah, I'm listening. Mama, I'm working on things. She's like, Mama. She's like, Mama, I need you to listen to me with your eyes. I'd heard that years ago. I thought, oh, that's cool. Now, as a parent, in the age of Facebook and Twitter and everything, and I conduct a lot of my business right from my phone, I've been that mama at the stove. And I realized afterward, oh my God, my son, my daughter, they're only going to be here with me at this age for this little bit of time. And everybody tells me, and it's going to be quicker than you think. So this is not me telling, oh, put down your phone. I'm telling myself this. Here we go. Ready? Bum 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 bum. This has nothing to do with the presentation. I'm just having fun up here. Bum, 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 bum. Can you tell I love my job? Can you believe this is really the only thing I do? No, this is the truth. I'm walking my talk here. This is the sole means by which I support my wife and 2 small children. Let this sink in. I make a living playing with bubbles. I'm telling you, anything is possible. Anything is possible. I was told as a child, do what you love and you'll never work a day in your life. But it took me 30 years to believe that was true for me. So I tell the kids, I hope you never forget. And to the adults, I hope you remember. Do what you love. Now my sense is, just with my brief time with you in this room, that you are where you are because you're doing what you love. Huh? And if for whatever reason you love something even more, I encourage you to explore that. I was working in special ed and was doing the bubble stuff on the side. This all started, my very first experience working in a special ed classroom was a preschool summer school program. And my heart went out to a child, it was the first child I ever met on the autism spectrum. And this particular child would come in every day and leave every day without interacting with anyone, kids or teachers. And I was fascinated by this. And I would watch him and I would start to learn his patterns. He had this little railroad track that was his thing. He had to play with that. He was very specific about what train car connected in what order. I see some heads shaking. You know exactly what I'm talking about. And so one day I'm just sitting on the floor next to him, and I know the order now too, because I've watched him do this over and over again. So just to see what would happen, I took the wrong car and connected it. And he stopped, he grabbed that car off, and he put it down, and then he handed me the right one. I'm like, oh, interesting. So I put the car on that. Another story about this boy, every day was this huge emotional experience as mom dropped him off and left him there. And he would fight and cry at the door, and then she would finally, and get out the door, probably sobbing all the way to the car, and he would run across the room and he would scramble to climb up this shelf and look out the window as mom drove away. And the lead teacher's like, get down from there, you can't do that, that's not safe, blah, 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 blah. But I watched this and I thought, oh, okay. So next day, mom drops him off, same scenario. She leaves, he runs, I'm standing at the window, and I just slide a little step stool over to him. Safe and sound, the teacher looks over. His needs were met. Things went on. Now remember this particular child because he changed my life forever. One day I was asked, organize that cabinet. That's getting to be quite a mess over there. Puzzles, games, toys. And up there was a little bottle of bubbles. My inner child came out. I pulled them down, wondering if there were any in there. And then I felt embarrassed. Like, I can't let the other teachers, or heaven forbid, the kids see me playing with the bubbles. So I turned away from the room. And I opened up the bottle behind my back. There was a wand in there. I was so excited. I dipped it. I pulled it out. I just blew a bubble or two. And after a moment, anybody else know that feeling when you're being watched? I feel this prickle. The back of my neck. Oh, busted. I turn around, and it's the little boy. He had broke routine to come over to see what I was doing with the bubbles. I looked up, and the teacher's watching me from her desk going, I mind back, what do I do? my back? I don't know. You're educators. What would you have done? And I did. I blew bubble after bubble after bubble for as long as he was engaged. And all I could wonder, bubble wonders, all I could wonder afterward was, what else could I have done with the bubbles to lengthen that period of time that he allowed me in? And answering that question has turned into a full-time calling. So as I said at the beginning, you never know when a moment might change your life forever. That was one of the moments for me. Okay. Here's the trampoline. Boing. Boing. Sometimes we can juggle. Boing, boing. Boing, 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 boing. Like slow motion juggling. It's a big bubble eyeball. I'm watching you. No, I'm sorry. I'm seeing you. I'm listening. Here's the second way to put a bubble in a bubble. You wrap the bubble inside a bubble. Isn't that lovely? I probably did that too fast. I'll slow it down for the photographers. I'll give you a second chance. I'll slow it down. A bubble inside a bubble. Isn't that beautiful? Here's the dancing bubble. And can you see all the beautiful colors on there? Every single color of the rainbow is on the surface of every bubble. I love that. No, 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 no. The kids are dying, rolling on the floor because I failed again. And then I go, I got it. Bum, 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 bum. No, and that's what we should do when we make mistakes. I say that to the kids, I'm saying that to you as educators. Laugh it off. Keep going. Most cases, they don't know that you made a mistake. If they do, laugh it off. Tell them it's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to make mistakes. Going back to that little superhero thing, I thought, superhero, dreamers, we make a lot of mistakes because we're trying things no one else will even dare. So take chances, take risks, and learn from your mistakes, and laugh it off if it doesn't work, right? You always learn something, right? Like the song said before, like we only heard a little snippet of it before we started the awards. But the words, it's the theme song of the film. Anything is possible. Stand up, try again, chin up, and carry on, and you will be unstoppable. Anything is possible. I'm so proud of this theme song. It appears on this album called Grateful by the same artist, Canadian singer-songwriter Jen Hanna. I met Jen 7 years ago. I was doing service work. It's called Voluntourism, Be the Change While Seeing the World. And we were in Vietnam and Cambodia and Thailand, and I was performing for orphans in these orphanage in all these countries. And this Jen Hanna woman, she was on the same trip, and she was singing these beautiful songs of hope and inspiration to those same boys and girls. And frankly, I fell in love with her music and her message, her spirit. And I hired her on the spot. That's taking action. I hired her on the spot to create a song like that for my show. Anyway, long story short, back on St. Valentine's Day, Miss Jen and I celebrated our 5th wedding anniversary. We now have 2 little kids of our own. Her song went on to win a Positive Music Award. And the reason I share this is because I think it's a lovely story to illustrate following your passion. And also because you will each be leaving with a copy of Jen's CD today. It's our way, the 4C's way of giving you one more resource, something that you can bring back to the classroom. It's the first track. We've had schools that say, oh, and here's the thing, I'm giving you a blanket agreement to use this in any way you see fit. In the classroom, teachers said we used it on our special days. Somebody else used it as a soundtrack for their end of the year video yearbook. Some use it on Facebook. However you want to use that. This is our way of saying we appreciate you. We thank you for what you're doing in the classroom with the kids. Okay? So and I saw them like sticking them in bags and stuff like that. So you'll all get those. Okay? Okay, but let's move on. I want to do a little bit more here for you. Now, there is one more way to put a bubble inside a bubble, but it's the most difficult method. You don't want to see the hard way to do it. Of course, that's what the kids would do. Okay, here we go. Hardest trick I do. Bubble inside a bubble, the difficult method. Again? Let me just say this, because I just have to say I'm absolutely grateful for the applause. I love the applause. It makes all those hours practicing in my bathtub worthwhile. Do what you love. Well, that's what I tell the older students. I get hired now to go and talk to middle school, high school students. Same bubble tricks, but how I frame them, the stories I use, most of them like my own journey. How do I go from being this person working as a teacher's assistant in special education to blowing bubbles around the country and other countries? And I tell the older kids, it's all about following your passion, doing what you love. Malcolm Gladwell talks about you want to be a master of whatever it is. If you want to be a master teacher, right? We have to put in 10,000 hours to become a master of whatever it is. My advice is do what you love, because if you're going to have to put in 10,000 hours, make it something that you will love, because you're not always going to want to do it. And if you don't like what it is, it's going to be a struggle the whole way. And where's the joy in that? I know college students who got hooked into the whole rush. Gotta graduate from high school, gotta get into college. I don't know what I'm gonna do. I don't know what I want to do, but my friends are doing it. The school is telling me to do it. Society is telling me to do it. So they grab something, they spend 4 years or whatever, and then they come out in severe debt and go right into a job that they hate. And they can't get out of that job because now they have to pay off the student loans that put them in the debt in the first place. So what I tell them is do what you love. I'm currently designing a program where I actually take them through that process, help them figure out, to find out what's most valuable, what's your voice, your vision, your values. I had a class like that my senior year of college. It was like therapy. I learned so much about who I was. I never asked myself those questions before. I learned about who I was and what I really believed and how I wanted to give back to society. And all I could think was, I should not be getting this senior year of college. Had I known that in middle school, high school, I would have known exactly if I wanted to go to school, if so, what I was going to study, and where would be the best place, the way to do that. So it'll save the students and their parents time, energy, money to figure that out. That's why I was saying before, you're here, and I don't know for sure, but there may be a younger version of me in this audience thinking, I love what I do, and what I'm doing is very valuable, but something else is calling me. Don't raise your hand. You can talk afterward. You have to follow that. I was still working in special education while developing all this on the side. I have a background in magic, juggling, storytelling, all those sorts of things. And every time our class had a party, I would go, oh, I can show you something I'm working on. I do a little magic trick, do a little puppetry, tell a story, and whatever current thing I was learning to do with bubbles. This just grew and grew and grew. Parents, oh, my kid said that he loved what you're doing with bubbles. Do you do parties? Yes. I started doing parties on the weekends. This went on for a few years. I've developed more and more skill, less magic and storytelling, more bubbles. And then school started again in August. By October, I had used up all my vacation days, all my sick days and personal days. I had used up every available day I had in order to go out and perform for other boys and girls at other schools. My supervisor came to me one day and said, you're at a crossroads. You have no more time left. What are you going to do? And then, bless her, she said, for what it's worth, some people never figure out what they truly want to do. I think you found it. So I took a leap of faith. I gave my 2 weeks notice. And that will be 10 years in October. 10 years. So, younger me, wherever you are in this room, if there is one here, giving up and leaving something that was the right thing for you at that time is noble and honorable. Both for yourself, because you will then take a leap and be supported as you go on to do that next thing that excites you the most. And you also open an opportunity for the next person to step into that position because that's where they need to be. Is that a win-win? Yeah? Okay. Companies are always a little iffy about that. Wait, you're telling my employees to quit their job? Hey, it's good for company, right? You want people that are happy where they are, doing what they love. Here we go. You want to see the bubble again? Is that it? Wow. Okay, I'll try it again. Bubble inside the bubble, the difficult method. Oh, and I think I figured out the square bubble too. Where is it? We were using the wrong wand. Yeah, should we use this one? Or this one? Anybody else relate to that thinking? That didn't work. I'll try 10 times harder doing the same thing that... Been there. Do it all the time. Okay, here we go. Play along. Drum roll, please. At last, this... Oh. It's okay. Maybe we could squish it into... I'm not giving up. I have persistence, right? Ooh, all back. You have it. Persistence, yes. Persistence. I'll come back to the square bubble. Sometimes we have to rest and sleep on a problem, come back to it. I want to show you something else in the meantime. I figured out a way to make a foggy bubble, a white bubble. Some of you may have seen something like this before. I first saw a white bubble over 20 years ago on television. A man came on The Tonight Show with Johnny Carson, took his bubble wand, dipped it in the bottle, and he smoked a cigarette. And he blew smoke through the wand and made a little smoke bubble. Really fascinating trick. Now, I don't do it that way. I don't smoke. I'm personally actually allergic to cigarettes and to cats. So if your cat smokes, I can never come over. Now, I had to figure out another way to make a white bubble. It took me 3 months of trying and failing. 3 months of experiments, mistakes. But did I give up? No. I have. Uses mostly water and just a touch of glycerin to make foggy bubbles. It's safe, it's sound, there's no heat involved. It just looks really lovely. Isn't that pretty? My bubble snowman. Boom, 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 boom. I'm going to let it pop now. Oh, did you see that? I'll do another one up high so you can see. I just think it looks so beautiful. As I said, it's like a cool mist. It doesn't hurt anything. I've never set off an alarm or anything like that. There's always a first, right? So we'll come back to that. Oh, as I tell the kids. Oh. Now sometimes the dreams we have, they just keep growing and evolving as we evolve and we change and new information comes in. Like I just looked down and I saw that square wand again. I thought, oh, if I could make a square bubble, couldn't I fill it with a fog? He's like, yeah, I could make a white square bubble. A white square bubble. Will you help me remember this? A white square bubble. Don't forget, there's going to be a pop quiz later on. White square bubble. We'll come back to that. I want to show you something a little bit larger now. Over here in my bag, I brought along this large pan. I call it my bubble moat. You could do the same thing with a little plastic swimming pool, or at the hardware store, there's something called a water heater drain pan. It's a nice size. You could do that in the classroom. This comes from Italy. Frankly, it costs more in shipping it from Italy than it costs for the pan. Now what I'm going to do next is I'm going to pour some bubbles into the pan. Let's briefly talk about bubbles. Anybody ever bought bubbles and you could not blow a bubble with it? Okay. And you guys are like, you're in the classroom, right? It's crucial. This stuff works. And unfortunately, there's a lot of junk on the market. For instance, I warn people up from a brand called Miracle Bubbles. I love the name, but frankly, it's a miracle if you can blow a bubble with it. If you want to write this down, remember, Uncle Bubble. I'm on Facebook, Bubble Wonders. You contact me anytime if you have any questions about any of this stuff. Bubble Wonders. What is it? Bubble Wonders. But another good backup bubble solution is called Gazillium. I see some heads now. Good stuff. They have a whole product line. Bubble blowers, bubble toys. This was a Gazillium bubble wand. Gazillium, the solution is really good. I want kids to be able to have success because they go home and they go, oh, we tried that, it didn't work. It's not you, it's the bubble solution. You can also make your own bubble solution. That would be a great like how-to DIY thing with the kids, right? You do soap. I use Dawn dish soap, water, and a secret ingredient called glycerin. They use glycerin when they make soaps and lotions. Makes our skin soft, makes the bubbles really strong. But guys, gentlemen, that's just glycerin, not nitroglycerin. It's a different bubble pop altogether. I need another volunteer. Yes, all the way in the back there, young lady. You were the first one to raise your hand. Actually, I'll do two. Yes, right here. You raised your hand right about the same time. So why don't you both come on up? I have 2 helper spots. I came prepared. I'll have you come stand right here next to me, my dear. And you can stand right next to her on the other helper spot. And then introduce yourself. What is your name?
My name is Paris.
Paris. Nice to meet you, Paris. And your name, let me guess, it's Sandra. Yeah, it's right there on the label. Thanks for playing along, girls. Now, what I did is I put that inside there, and then it's time for all of you guys to vote again. Should I use this one or this one? This one. Okay. The kids, of course, are out of their seats. Okay, now, Paris, I realize I've made a mistake, but that's okay, right? Persistence. I need to move your spot. It's in the wrong spot. It should have been here. Would you be willing to stand on there now? Wonderful. Here we go. On the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Paris in a bubble. I'll do it again. Paris in a bubble. Now don't look up. Don't look up. I forgot to mention you never look up for 2 things in life. Bubbles and birds. Paris, would you switch places with, is it Sandra or Sandra?
Either way.
Well, how do you? Sandra, would you step inside there too, my dear? 1, 2, 3. Sandra in a bubble. Do it one more time. Close to the end here. Time-wise. Oh, it's beautiful. There you go, my dear. You can step out very quickly. Take a bow, you two. Give them a big round of applause. And now, ladies and gentlemen, the square bubble. I think I figured it out, but I'm going to need another volunteer. Now, at this point, all the kids in the room have their hands raised. Me. I turn around and I go, oh, whoa. And I'm like, what a feeling. Now I have every kid who wants to help, wants to be part of what they're seeing, right? But you can do it right where you are. If you want to try and play along, put your hands up in the air and tell yourself, anything is possible for me.
Anything is possible.
Turn to somebody next to you and say, anything is possible for you. Look them in the eye. Now bring your hands together, pretend you're holding a big ball of clay, and then squish the top and bottom, 1 and 2. Squishing the sides, 3 and 4, and the front and back, 5 and 6. Use your imagination. Look between your hands and tell me, what shape are you holding now? Square or cube. You push the circle into. I'm going to do the same thing, but I'm not going to use my hands. I'm going to use 6 bubbles. 6 bubbles in the 6 same places that you just pushed with your hands. A bubble on top, bottom, front, back, side, and side. We'll even use my big straw, the fogger maker, and this. If it works, you can say, I saw a man make a square bubble using a square one, and people are going to say, huh? But now you can teach them how we did it. First we learn, and then we teach. So I tell the students, I hope you thank your teachers for that later. I hope they do. 6 bubbles. If this works, you'll see the most beautiful thing in Bubble Wonders. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now watch carefully in the middle, because in life, the answer lies inside. And there we have it, at last. White square. Okay. Now let's do the volcano. Let's take that away. Hope you got pictures. Please post those, by the way. I'm trying to catch this one. Let's see if we can do this just right. Catch it. Well, catch. Oh, we did it. The bubble volcano. 3, 2, 1. Thank you. And now, ladies and gentlemen, just as my volcano has run out of fog, I run out of time and tricks to share with you, but I hope you remember the magic words we used here today. Anything is possible. And it's so true. I told people, my dream is to make a square bubble, and people said, you can't do that. There's no such thing as a square bubble. You can't take something that's round and change it into a square. But we know better than that. So I'm going to leave you now with my final question. But this question is so special. I don't want you to tell me your answer this time. So don't say anything out loud. Don't raise your hand. But if you want to try this, here's how we do this final thing. Take a deep breath inside. Relax and let it out. Be calm and quiet just for a moment. And this time, listen. Listen for an answer you might hear in your heart. Here comes the question. Get ready. Shh. What's your dream? What impossible things are you going to do in and out of the classroom? What's your square bubble? And just remember, whatever your dreams are, no matter our age or situation, all we have to remember and believe are those 3 simple words. Anything is possible.